When your home life is so weird, you kind of don't want people to see a lot of it. So you kind of, you just let people see a little bit of it.
Please welcome to the show, Chester Bennington.
So fucking excited!
I drive myself nuts. There's a lot of things that happened to me as a young person. Life is so weird. I feel like I've got it, like, all my stuff together. And then there are periods of time where I'm just like, I am such a failure. For me, it's like I can live with life on life's terms and not want to get out of it. Between my ears, that is a bad neighborhood. I should not be in there alone.
Unless you've walked in those shoes, you don't understand the pain, the weight of kind of carrying that along.
It's crazy in here. What do I have to do? How do I win?
This is all right? Look at this. The talking part of the show is over. Now doing the song Faint. The reason some of you have been here since 4 this morning. Linkin Park.
Insanely happy. I mean, look how many people love that guy.
You're watching Linkin Park TV.
Linkin Park.
Nominated for 3 Grammys, including Best New Artist and Best Rock Album.
Music should be your life. You need to live it, eat it, sleep it, wake up, and the only way you're ever even going to have a chance to make it in this business is if you're willing to sacrifice everything to achieve your goal.
Chester Charles Bennington was born on March 20th, 1976, the son of a mother who worked as a nurse and a father who worked as a police detective. Growing up in Phoenix, Arizona in the late 70s proved difficult for Chester, who often got into trouble with drugs as a means of coping with feeling like an outsider.
We don't relate Linkin Park or myself with alcoholism or drug addiction or anything like that, but that's a part of my life, and that's been a part of my life since I was a very young boy. Started using drugs when I was 11. I was exposed to it really, really young. Whether it's substances or whether it's behavior or whether it's like depressive stuff or whatever it is, like if I'm not like actively like getting out of myself and being with other people, like being a dad, being a husband, being a bandmate, like being a friend, helping someone out, like if I'm out of myself, I'm great. If I'm inside all the time, I'm horrible, I'm a mess. And there was a lot of things that happened to me as a young person that were really difficult to deal with,
After his parents divorced, Chester worked odd jobs in Arizona, including a Burger King, and it's safe to say that Chester felt lost, but it wouldn't be long before Chester would find what he was searching for.
Music has probably kept me alive. From your friends and family. I think that music is probably the reason why I still am here, because that is how I get out a lot of the stuff that's going on inside of me, and that's how I kind of work through a lot of things. I reflect on my life, I reflect on how I feel, and I get to talk about it.
(1998). A local band named Zero are holding auditions for a new vocalist. They want somebody who can complement the MC of the group, and this proved to be a difficult task, and the band were close to giving up.
We went through a period where we kind of didn't know what we wanted to do with the band. Like the singer we had been playing with was transitioning out, and we didn't know if we wanted to continue.
The band were desperate, but so was Chester. This was his chance to finally move to LA and pursue his dream.
This is gonna work.
3-day period, got the songs, recorded my stuff, and then a few days later I was in LA from Arizona. I was living in Phoenix, and I came out, and the rest is kind of history.
And with the final piece of the puzzle, Zero went through numerous other changes.
What's up? Linkin Park 2000. Hey, you guys know you smell the Linkin, right?
Yo, what's up? LPU in the hizzy.
The band spent the next year playing to the ever-growing crowds across the United States, who couldn't wait for a taste of the band's fresh, new metal sound.
Let the floodgates open!
Life was good.
Infused the band with new drive to bring their music to the masses.
Linkin Park is individual, they're unique, makes them great.
But just as everything seemed to be going their way, and despite the love for the band, the record labels had a problem.
There wasn't a lot of bands that were already mixing different styles of hip-hop or harder rock, alternative rock,
It's amazing that record even got made.
Chester came out to LA just like having started in the band, and he was like kind of living out of his car and deciding do I want to be in this band?
The most common thing we heard was, it's great, like we love what you're doing, but we're gonna have to pass.
Everyone turned their backs and walked away, and we thought, you know, we were told you got your one chance and it's over.
And then we got in the studio and like the people were like, that we were working with were saying, you know, we wanted you to change this and change that. This guy has this gimmick where he wears a red hat and you guys need a gimmick. For us, we were just like, come on, man. Like,
we had to fight for that thing, man. Like, it was like, it got ugly at some points. And it was just like, this is what this is gonna be like? Fuck this. To kick a shoe off and have—
that was one of the gimmicks that they suggest. Like, just every show, like you could kick shoes off and that'd be your thing.
Or like, we could put Joe in a fucking chemistry set with beakers and it's like,
he could be the
I'm just like, I'm sitting there looking at these people going, when are you going to shut the fuck up and leave?
Disheartened by the prospect of changing their sound, Linkin Park stood their ground, and the risk would pay off.
Linkin Park boasts the #1 selling album of 2001. Hybrid Theories remained on the charts for well over a year after debuting at an impressive number 16.
The award goes to Linkin Park.
Oh my goodness, Linkin Park!
Hybrid Theory sold 50,000 copies in its first week.
I was shooting pretty high when I said, you know, I wanted to sell 8,000 copies in a week. I thought that would be like something really extraordinary to do.
It's safe to say that Hybrid Theory resonated with a wider audience almost immediately, but like anything celebrated, there were plenty of critics.
People respond in such a polarized way to whatever we do. Like, it kind of doesn't matter what style it is. Like, people either loved it or like they hated it.
Hybrid Theory's heartfelt lyrics struck a chord with fans who could relate to Chester's painful past.
We got deeper into that first record. Like, people started realizing, oh, there's something different about this, like, that I think I kind of like.
Every time you look at somebody else when you're a kid and you go, man, I wish I had their parents, or I wish I had their life. You get to know them, you find out a lot of times, unfortunately, it's really similar. It's how I use my past and the good ways and the bad ways to write lyrics.
The next 2 years saw Linkin Park play over 300 shows, all over the world. That works out at nearly one show every other day. How does a young kid from the outskirts of Arizona end up fronting one of the biggest new bands on the planet? Talent. Chester's light was burning bright, a flame that had been sparked by the pain of his adolescence. But what was happening to that pain now? Now that Chester had the catharsis of the band's music, had that pain gone away?
I think for me, the success of the band was never really the thing that was the problem. I see the one dude who's just like, I hate you.
But
and I'm like, why? All my attention goes to that one little flaw.
Yeah.
You know, and like there's all this great stuff going on, and like I'm not even paying attention to all
But
the
I
great
think a lot
stuff.
of
I mean, a lot of my stuff I was carrying around for a long time, and then it was also like the relationship between my ex-wife and I at the time really played a huge role in kind of how I viewed the world and kind of how I secluded myself in a lot of ways. I drive myself nuts, like actually thinking that like all these are real problems. Like all the stuff that's going on in here is actually just, I'm doing this to myself. Why aren't you liking this? And what do I have to do? How do I win?
Yeah.
When you can step back and look at something, like you're actually elevating yourself consciously. Like you're enlightened at that point.
Right.
And so this is that moment of enlightenment where you go, you know, I could do something about this, and by doing it, I can move forward and get unstuck from this. And it's like I can live with life on life's terms. Like I can experience the whole spectrum of humanity and not want to get out of it, whether it's happiness, sadness, or whatever. How do I win? If I'm out of myself, I'm great.
There must be a concern at the moment with you guys when you think what's going to happen when we stop.
Everybody knew how much pain and frustration went into making Hybrid Theory, and so now the challenge was putting in that much work into the next record.
You might not have heard of this particular band, but ladies and gentlemen, see if you have, please welcome Linkin Park.
We kind of had a joke that since the first record did so well, we were going to do everything the same.
Jimi Hendrix did a record here 30 years after he died. That's how cool this place is. When we wrote Hybrid Theory, we were still pretty young. We were in a completely different mind frame at that point.
Like writing stuff about just real life emotion, just stuff that happens to people every day.
What did we do today, Chester?
Today, kids, we rewrote the end of a song for the 97th time. Our perspective has changed. We've been able to tour around the world, and our experiences were different. A lot of the feelings that were coming out lyrically were from, what it was like going through touring and being away from the people that we love and kind of the hardships of that. But there was still a lot of success, so there was a lot of optimism, I think, in the music and also in the lyrics. And we also got to experiment a lot.
Getting towards the end of our recording, we knew we had our deadline, and basically the unthinkable happened.
Getting sick while you're recording a record is kind of something that you kind of really dread.
It forced Chester to be finishing his vocals while the rest of the record was actually being mixed, which is a big no-no.
Been sick for 5 weeks.
Our album would very likely not have come out until 6 months later, or those songs would have just been trashed.
The happy end of the story was that it turned out great. There's always like those kind of obstacles that come up in the recording or touring process, and we've found there's always a way to kind of work around that.
European tour. Thank you very much, Manchester, for making me some of the fucking best fucking tours we've had. You guys are fucking amazing.
If I'm out of myself, I'm great. If I'm inside all the time, I'm horrible. I'm a mess.
And that's why we keep the tape rolling.
These kids are gonna be freaking out.
It's gonna be great.
We didn't tell any of our kids like what it is.
What did you tell? What was the communication to your fans?
Well, I don't know what. I ain't talking to no one.
Because I know our fans, we basically just told them, it's a show, it's small. By the way, what else do you listen to?
We gave out some passes based on their answers.
Put down my other favorite artist is Jay-Z, then they gotta come.
So MTV had reached out to Jay. They said, we want to do this mashup series. We want to do a show, like multiple episodes of different groups mashing stuff up. Will you guys be our first episode? And we were like, yeah.
We said to each other, I'm not trying to be Linkin Park and you're not trying to be Jay-Z. We just here to, I'll bring what I do to the table, y'all bring what y'all do to the table, and we mix it and we just uncompromised and have fun with it.
Since Jay had already approved it and they said, who do you want to do it with? And he said Linkin Park. We were all set to do it. I made 3 of the tracks and I sent them to him as my response. And his response back was, oh shit. Like he loved it. It was all good.
Happened. I don't know how I got tricked into doing all this work. These things just turned into real things. It turned into a show. It was supposed to be a show for MTV, which when we got in the studio, I started doing the lyrics over and we started doing all our things over the music. It turned into something more than a show. And I'm not gonna fight it. I'm tired of you not doing nothing. What for? I mean, it's beautiful music, and I want the world to see it.
I'm doing this to myself.
Because you've been, working constantly on on making Linkin Park a success.
I'm more comfortable when there's a lot to be expected. I want to be in the mix, have the pressure.
There's a lot of commercial pressure that I think people try and put on us or think that is there, and it kind of is there in a way.
There's got to be a time when you actually have to go back home and do something to put down some roots, do you know what I mean?
I've been married for 5 years and I've been on the road for almost 2 of those years. That sucks to me. It's the price we pay for the games we play, you know what I mean? There's a sacrifice in every situation. Music should be your life, period. You need to live it, you need to eat it, sleep it, wake up, and the only way you're ever even going to have a chance to make it in this business is if you are willing to sacrifice everything to achieve your goal.
I think everybody likes the idea of taking something that you're familiar with and turning it into something that you're not as familiar with.
When we initially started to think about making this record, in our minds we wanted to try something new.
Waiting to come out and be dusted off and to be reinvented as
more than meets the eye. And that more than meets the eye could mean more than just the robots. More than meets the eye could mean something about the human character.
Try and redevelop the sound of the band from every aspect, which was kind of a scary thought.
The band's change of direction would secure them a spot on the Transformers soundtrack, and they received significant airtime all over the world. The album's theme of time and change were clearly a sign of the times.
We were looking back, it was easy for us to replicate, it was easy for other bands to replicate, and we just needed to move on.
I told the guys about the idea of the Doomsday Clock thing and applying that to kind of like how the band has changed from, you know, what we used to be like to like what we've become, and the risk that's involving.
The last song we finished, this a song called What I've Done. To me, that song encompasses what the album is. It's kind of a little bit of a link from the previous stuff we've done into this. Lyrically, it's about like recognizing the faults of the past and trying to move on with the future, and that's what this album's about.
Chester had remarried, his youngest children were growing up, and he was expecting his first child with Talinda. And as their sound was evolving, it seemed there was nothing the band couldn't do.
Huge fan of Chris. To be able to do this is like, we're blessed. It means a lot to us that people are so passionate about our music.
How are you, Leo? Chester.
Hey, Brad, how are ya?
After the success of Minutes to Midnight, the band would go on to push their own boundaries even further.
That song took us into a different place.
And over the course of the next 5 years, the band would produce 3 more albums.
People respond in such a polarized way to whatever we do. We've always been like too hard rock for pop and too pop for hard rock. We kind of have been a band that like represents how I feel. Like I'm always just kind of like a little bit off.
What Chester Bennington was kind of saying is, why are we still talking about hybrid theory? Why are we still being held to that standard, even though that record came out practically 20 years ago?
Because they don't. Some of them are pretty good. But
why are we still talking about hybrid theory? Obviously,
I honestly think that this is separate.
Really forced.
They oversimplified the formula a little bit.
And then they fell in love with it. And then the people that hated it, like still to this day, like hate us. Like they don't like just dislike us. Like they like literally hate the band, which is hilarious.
Only it wasn't hilarious. Chester would go on to vent his frustrations of the album's negative response in multiple written interviews. To have something you've poured your heart into torn apart by your own fans was clearly taking its toll. But they would return to their rock roots on their next album, The Hunting Party.
That I won't let go of, and then it set me on fire.
It's a great story, I like that.
I want to walk away from a song and feel like I cannot get it out of. It's like a 22 round bouncing around in my head. And that's what I want from all of our songs, from this record, because I feel like if we have a record that's stacked with songs that are inspired, like you said, when it's over, it's in your head, that to me gives us a better shot at having a chance to reach people who aren't necessarily searching for us. And that's what I want. I want to make a record that makes our fans happy, of course. Most importantly, makes us happy.
Minutes to Midnight to unwrap the band and like build a new thing. What's the new identity? And that's what I think we're missing. This record right now has songs that are fucking awesome. This is that same thing, except the difference is we have an arsenal of tools. Like, we are so much more prepared to do this now. And rather than looking at it as like an uphill climb, like this is like playtime. This is exciting.
There's a reason why all 6 of us voted for those tracks. It's because they're amazing songs. There's a reason why all of us love One More Light, and that's because it makes you want to fucking cry. That's why that song is great. It's fucking hard to listen to. Every year of my life is a rough year. It just depends on how I look at it at the end of the day.
This morning, the music world is remembering rock pioneer Chris Cornell. Cornell died unexpectedly late last night. He was in Detroit and he was 52 years old.
We were going to come out and play heavy first, but in light of our dear friend Chris Cornell passing away, we decided to play our song One More Light in honor of him to start this off. We love you, Chris.
I have a scary question for you guys, and I want to get into breaking down the actual title, One More Light.
Yeah.
There's a finality
to it, right? I'm like, are they trying to tell us something, or is this the last light?
The last album.
We're giving up, guys.
Lucky number 7.
Rock fans all over are remembering the life and career of music icon Chester Bennington today.
His body was found at his house in LA County on Thursday morning local time, who died on what would have been the 53rd birthday of his late friend and Soundgarden vocalist Chris Cornell, who committed suicide 2 months ago.
The music world lost a legend in Linkin Park frontman Chester Bennington.
Yeah.
Did you know him?
He was a good friend of mine, yeah. He fought what a lot of us fight, which is that serious depression, that heavy depression. I'm just glad I got the time that I had with him, you know? He was a sweetheart of a guy. He was amazing.
A young man by the name of Chester Bennington. Mental health is a real issue. You never know what they're going through. Just call them up sometimes, you know, somebody you ain't speak to, your aunt, your cousin. Be like, hey, how you doing? Everything good?
You are not alone. Life is fucking hard. And all of us, we have terrible beasts and demons and vices that we battle daily. All of us do. And Chester, we loved you. You will be missed, and I am so sorry that you felt like you had to leave this way.
The one thing that can't be defeated is love, right? You can conquer hate by ignoring it. You can destroy it by loving the person next to you.
I think for a lot of people, they think like if you're successful, like all of a sudden, like you get like a green, like you get like some card in the mail that says like you're gonna be totally satisfied and happy for the rest of your life. It doesn't happen like that. Like what goes on inside my head is always been that. It's always been this way for me.
Look at the person standing next to you and just tell them that you love them and you are happy that they're here with you tonight, having a good time, listening to music, celebrating life. We don't care what you look like. We don't care where you come from. We don't care what you believe in. We love every single one of you out there, and nothing will ever change that. With that said, let's sing some songs together.
But all of the people here tonight and all of the men and women that you healed through your music, and you reminded all of us that we were not alone. Through all of us, we will carry on, and your music and your message and your voice will live on forever.